Hello Sassy Beauties, in this video I want to talk about how to get a man to chase us by triggering his chase instinct using our feminine energy. Hi everybody, this is Katie. I'm a dating coach and relationship expert, and I help smart, attractive and successful women attract and keep high quality men by managing your thoughts and your emotions. So today I want to teach you one of the concepts that I teach my clients, and that is how to trigger a man's chase instinct using your feminine energy. And we do that by understanding how desire works, right? Desire is the primary emotion that is driving all of a man's chasing actions. You know, when he texts you, when he asks you out on a date, when he's like moving towards you and wanting and pursuing you and courting you. Desire is the emotion that's driving all of those behaviors. And this is so important, especially in the first 6 months of dating, okay? You want to establish that dynamic in the first 6 months of dating. And I would say it's even important right up until proposal and marriage. And even after that, there's elements of that too, because when the male, when the man is in his masculine energy and he feels that desire for you, that passion, that fiery spark for you, because you're in your feminine energy, that is what generates, right, the passion in the relationship, the desire, the passion, the excitement. And that is needed in order for two people who don't know each other to do what is needed to get closer and closer and closer together like this, okay? Because intimacy is scary for a lot of people, okay? Being really close to someone, being able to trust them, being able to rely on them, opening up parts of yourself to someone new, all those things are really scary. So we need to counterbalance it by the emotion of desire. You need to have desire to push through all of those much scarier emotions that, all our fears that will come up as well. And that's why desire needs to be so strong for a man to feel like this woman is worth it. This woman is worth me facing all my fears so I can get closer to her. I want to get closer to her. That's the purpose of desire. Also, more as an anecdotal thing, I have interviewed lots of happily married couples that's been together a long time, still very much in love and have a great relationship. And just about all of them say in the beginning, she was the one that wasn't all that interested. She wasn't really sure about him. He was the one that pursued her, right? So I feel like there's definitely something there. And I know me personally, all the times where I've been able to get into a good, satisfying relationship were the ones where the man pursued me in the beginning. Whenever I've pursued a man, it's just never worked out, right? It just always fizzles out. And just think about it for yourself, how that could be true and why maybe there's something here that you should, just test out for yourself and try it. Okay. So now that we know desire is the emotion that's going to drive all of his chasing actions, then we need to understand how desire works. Desire, like any other emotion, is created from your thoughts, from your thinking, okay? You have certain thoughts that trigger the feeling of desire. Thoughts like, I like her, I want her, I want to talk to her, I want blah, blah, blah. Those kind of thoughts typically is what helps you what generates the feeling of desire in your body. And the thing about desire, it's a learnt emotion. So the more we desire something, the more we desire it, the more we desire it. Like, think about the last time you really desired something, you wanted something, right? Did you tell yourself straight away, I couldn't have it? Or did you keep it going by saying, yes, maybe I could have it? And you start looking at pictures online of, let's say it's a Louis Vuitton bag or something. Maybe you start doing research on this bag, looking at pictures of this bag, looking at what other women say about this bag, right? All of those behaviors, researching behaviors is actually fueling your desire for the bag, right? By constantly thinking about it, constantly thinking thoughts like, I want that, that's pretty, that's so nice. You know, imagine if I had that, like imagining yourself having it. Those are the thoughts that generates the feeling of desire. And the more desire you have, the more desire you have. So the same works for a man. The more he desires you, the more he will desire you, the more he will desire you. Okay. So you want to keep that desire going, because this is one of those emotions that fuels itself, okay? So remember, the masculine energy is a hot energy, and I'll think about the hot energy as high desire. He needs to have a high level of desire in order to chase you. And then the feminine energy is a cool energy, colder energy that equates to low desire. Okay, so in order for us to trigger a man's chase instinct, we want to manage our thoughts so we purposely generate lower desire than him in the beginning. Okay, this is where I'm going to show you the desire scale. Okay, the desire scale is this scale on the screen here, where in the middle is 0, that is neutral. You don't really like someone, but you don't dislike them either. You just feel neutral about them. And +5 is high desire, where you like really desire someone. And -5 is where you're just repulsed by them. It's the opposite of desire. It's repulsed, okay? So you will land somewhere on this scale as you start dating a man, and you just want to first check in with yourself and ask yourself, where do I land and where does he land on this scale? Okay, and you have to just go off of your feelings here of where you land. So if a man is pursuing you quite strong and consistently in the beginning, maybe you would say he's sitting at a 3 in desire, because he's consistently texting you, showing up, saying, I don't know, how much he likes you, how you're like the perfect girl, and complimenting you all the time. And he's consistent with that. So you would put him at a 3, right? In desire, +3. So that would mean for you, if you want him to keep his desire for you, you just want to make sure your desire is 1 or 2 notches below his, okay? And we manage that. How do we do that? Is by managing our thoughts about him. So these are the thoughts you want to just play around with. Just see if it works for you in terms of neutralizing your emotions and neutralizing your desire. I'll probably never hear from him again. I don't know anything about him. He's probably not going to keep talking to me. This other thing is way more interesting. Okay, you just want to play around with that. That may work for you, it may not work for you. If you have a hard time believing some of these thoughts, play around with some other ones. I think it's always a good idea to ground ourselves to reality that even though this man is consistently chasing us and texting us, and he's been this way for the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, we still don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. We still don't know what the future holds, because I see a lot of women get caught up in, because of all of his past actions, then for sure he will text me. For sure he'll keep pursuing me. For sure this is gonna go somewhere. Like really betting hard on what the future holds based on his previous actions. And I really don't think this is a good idea when you're trying to manage your emotions, because the truth is you really don't know what's going to happen. That is the truth. You want it to be true, but you really don't know. And I think it's better to stay in that not knowing place, that uncertain place, to just keep your desire low in the beginning and keep your mind more clear and open to what actually will happen, and instead of having expectations, maybe having those expectations dashed, right? Not being met. On the flip side, if those are the thoughts that neutralizes your desire, then you also want to be aware of thoughts that generate desire for you. Thoughts like, I like him, I want to talk to him, I want to see him, I want to go on a date with him, I've never met a man like him, he's so much better than all the other guys, right? Like those thoughts create desire for you. And in the beginning, you don't want to have your desire match him or surpass his, right? If your desire level starts to surpass his because you're spending your days thinking about him and creating desire unknowingly, right? Because again, desire, if you desire something, you're going to desire it more. The more you desire it, the more you'll desire it, right? So you're just like creating desire for yourself here. But the more you desire him, the more you end up becoming the chaser, the pursuer. And if you start pursuing him and chasing him, he's going to pull back, right? He's not going to feel that spark, that desire to chase you if you're the one chasing him. So he's going to pull back, which means his desire for you will cool. Yeah, he's not learning to desire you because you're desiring him, you're pursuing him. So that's why a man starts to cool off and pull back if you are chasing him too much. Another thing I want to caution you against is you don't want to overdo this if you act too disinterested. So let's say he is a 3 on desire and you're staying at a 0 or even a -1, like if that gap is too far and you're acting too cold, too disinterested, then chances are he's just going to stop pursuing altogether because he just thinks you're not interested, right? Like there has to be, the gap needs to not be too wide that he just stops completely, gives up hope, thinks, well, I'm not going to keep going if she's not interested. But you don't want that gap too close either, or else it's not going to generate enough desire for him. So that's why I think 1 or 2 notches below him is that sweet spot. Play around with this, see what works for you. Every guy is a little bit different. Some very masculine alpha males that some women may even say are a bit narcissistic, okay? They have that trait about them. They're super confident, super dominating. They can probably even handle a bigger gap, like a 3, right, distancing gap here. Just because it just seems like that doesn't really bother them, right? Like it's like you can be completely not interested in them, and because they're so alpha and so like confident in themselves and so used to getting their way eventually, that it's not going to put them off at all. They'll just keep coming after you. It's just going to keep pursuing you, right? Like so it depends on the guy. Some guys, they really almost need you to match them in terms of desire because their confidence is more on the low side. So unless you're showing some interest in them, they're not going to try at all, right? So it depends on the man that you're dating, and just want to play around with it. Another thing I like to talk about is this ratio of 7 to 3. So in the beginning, I like to have a man initiating contact with me 7 times out of 10, and the other 3 times you can initiate. I just like that number. You don't have to stick with this too closely, but for me, I like to just keep that in the back of my head just so I keep my emotions in check, because the more I start to talk to him, that's probably a sign that I'm starting to over-desire him. Okay, I'm starting to maybe surpass him in desire, and I don't want to do that. But either way, if you just keep this concept of the desire scale in mind, you will find you'll have better success in keeping a man's interest, keeping him pursuing and talking to you, getting to know you, and ultimately at least putting yourself in situations where you can deepen your intimacy and your connection so you can get into that committed relationship and ultimately marriage. Once you're in a committed relationship, this isn't as important anymore. Like once you're in a committed relationship and there is trust built up and intimacy built up, then you don't have to play this kind of game, right? And especially if you're married, if you get to the point where you are married, you get married, you can probably just drop all of this. I still think that in order to create some spark in a relationship, it's still good to understand how the spark works, how the feminine energy and the masculine energy works, so you can maintain that spark every now and then. But this level of pursuit I'm referring to in this video isn't really necessary once you're in a committed relationship where there is trust and intimacy already there. So that's all from me this week. I hope this video has been helpful for you ladies. And if you have any questions about any of it, please let me know. Leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel if this sounds like something you're interested in. And I will talk to you next week.